You must be a light, and you must shine in the darkest places. Light has a bit of every color in it. Materials repel color that you see and absorb the rest. Black? What is it? No color? Darkness chases the light, and when you shine a light through dark, it follows to the end. And you give Satan love, and he gives hate. You give him hate, and he thrives. The negativitron sucks your energy to feed his army and steals your creativity to weaken you. What's the point of feeding the beast? Putting blacks in with white kids in school would implant the seed into their minds that skin color doesn't have nothing to do with IQ or how stupid or smart you are, and race mixing is accepted at a very young age. Degradation of the white race. 1950s to 1960s was segregated but equal. The Freedom Bus. A bunch of Jews got a bunch of black people to go on buses from out of state and go to Mississippi and then walk into places that were no blacks allowed. And then when the blacks got arrested, they went to their friends in the media, and then everybody, what they see is a bunch of black people getting arrested for no reason. They saw a bunch of Jew-funded, well-dressed black men getting arrested by white cops, and think, well, if black people are so well-mannered and minding their own business, well, they'll just get arrested for no friggin' reason. They dressed them up like white people, bust them down to 1,000 cameras for Jewish networks. The legal context there was segregation laws were left up to the states in 1961. It was still the law of the land in Mississippi. It was upheld by the state statutes that mandated separate facilities like buses and restaurants. It was upheld by the Plessy versus Ferguson that allowed separate but equal facilities. In 1954, you had Brown versus the Board of Education, which desegregated the schools. In 1960, Oynton versus Virginia, which extended that logic to interstate bus terminals, which gave federal government the jurisdiction over the bus terminals. Jewish tricks of how can we get them while respecting state rights? Well, that's it, interstate commerce, because interstate commerce is under jurisdiction of federal government. Now they have a say in what's going on. NAACP, a Jewish group called CORE, Charlton Putnam, 1901, New York, Princeton University, earned a law degree in Columbia Law School in 1932. Between 1933 and the 1950s, started in the Chicago and Southern Airlines. 1953, merged with Delta. 54, became a chairman of the board, was a board member up until 1990s. Brown v. Board of Oh no, what does BOA stand for? Charlton Putnam, 1901, New York, Princeton University, earned a law degree in Columbia Law School in 1932. Between 1933 and the 1950s, started at the Chicago Airlines and Southern Airlines. 1953, merged with Delta. 54, became a chairman of the board, was a board member up until the 1990s. Brown versus the Board of Education triggered his activism. He believed that every race has its own capabilities, different aptitudes, and in 1954, we would not be able to maintain our society if we continued to ignore. He wrote a letter to President Dwight D. Eisenhower on October 13, 1958, Supreme Court's arrogance viewed by distinguished Northerner, complaining that the ruling was bad for the civilization. There are racial differences that cannot be ignored, and if we do ignore them, we ignore them at our own peril. There were a lot of letters to the editor from people complaining or agreeing with the letter, and found that most detractors were Christian, using religious argument that was very boomery, that they were all God's children, and this is the kind of argument that they were up against. He was up against. That we're all God's chosen, that we're all God's children, and this is the kind of argument he was up against, especially from Northerners, but from Southerners to a lesser extent as well. The dude who ran the American Nazi Party was apparently a really smart guy. He was a shill, okay, I think, and everybody else in his group was just a kind of, the dude, the dude who the dude who was the leader of the American Nazi Party apparently was a really smart guy. He was a shill, though. He was a shill. And now Donald Trump is talking about racial segregation in schools. Well, the president or leader of this American Nazi Party, he was a shill. And he said that racism can be good, and everybody on his side, everybody who was following him, were all very stupid, and they were just there because they wanted to be there. And they thought it looked cool and badassery and stuff, and whatever. But maybe sometimes it's best to stick with your own race. Egyptians depicted some of these watchers, givers, whatever you want to call them, black people back in the mid-1500s. They looked like wizards and shamans. They met and dealt with the Tartarians, and they kind of remind me of the Illusioner from Minecraft. Even the black people of the Tartarian age, late 1500s to 1600s, were actually far more advanced than our civilization even could come close to today. They had blimps, hot air balloons, and they were incredibly smart for that era. The race tests that I looked at paid no attention to. They were there to show your cognitive awareness, your IQ tests, geometry tests, mathematics questions, and a few puzzles. I guess all in a time limit showed that black people and all the other races are 15%, at least 15% more stupid than white people. And being smart means that you think more thoughts more frequently, you can keep track of multiple thoughts at a time, and you never stop thinking. If your thoughts are better, cooler, and more special than anyone else's, that's imagination, that's creativity. So basically, they were scored on how frequent your thoughts are on a time limit, how many thoughts you have in a time limit, if your thoughts align with reality, and how many thoughts you can have at a time, except for that last one. A real smart person thinks of all the things at once, but that is a genius. I used to be a genius, but they tell you you're stupid and you become stupid. A German study in the early 2000s conducted, blonde people performed worse and achieved lower test scores when they were told stupid blonde jokes before the test. Branch off, make a division of black brainiacs who work for God and struggle to find peace, live for God and strive for science of His creation. I read that blonde-haired, blue-eyed people are the smartest, but redheads are the second to it. I've got another account telling me that redheads are the smartest race. We send them to school with the rest. What I mean when I say struggle to find God is that in the Bible it says that the demon will know what you're planning and what you're thinking and what you're going to do and what you say you're going to do. The demon knows and is aware of what your plans are. So you have to wait until the moment where you are completely still and completely open and relaxed and wait for the perfect time. When you open up, that is the time to go out. When you are in that peaceful state, that is when you should be boots on the ground, out there in action. Now, what I mean when I say that we should all stick to our own race, sometimes it's best to stick to your own race, is that I don't mean that you can't love someone. I can't mean that two people can't date. It's just, what I'm saying is that it's best to know about your race and know about your heritage and ethnicity and know about yourself, because then if you date someone who looks exactly like you, you could say that that's my cousin, and if anyone tries to flirt with them, you got an excuse to bite them. Now, black people are just like little kids. I love black people, and I don't hate anyone. I love everyone. All the races are good. At least I try to anyways. But, one other thing. We got a church in Missouri called The River. There's this white pastor there who fell in love with this black girl because he was watching a movie called Purple Rain by Prince. There was this song in the movie called Jungle Love. It's a song about race mixing. Prince literally changed his name to a symbol, but they fell in love because love is love, and I don't have a problem with love. So you can't call me racist. Now, I read in these tests that blonde hair, blue-eyed people are the smartest, redheads are second to it, but I've got another account that's telling me that redheads are the smartest race, and we send them to school with the rest and niggerize them. Anyhow, Scythians came to America. They had to travel across deserts and overseas to get here. They liked the native people, the Indians. They even did it with the Indians, made their own special race. I love them. There were red-headed, light-skinned Indians with red hair, and maybe it was dye, because they did have dye, dyed feathers, had all sorts of cool stuff. Red, huge symbology in Indian culture, redskins, right? They raped us and used your ancestors, the Pilgrims, as an excuse. They had orders to rape our kind. A bunch of Irish came to Riddle, redheads. I got some in me, Irish. I have a flaming redhead uncle on my mom's side. And, I heard that the kid that did this was from Riddle, okay? And I feel the pain that I went through. He didn't feel the pain that I went through. He didn't feel it in my DNA. He was no peacemaker. He was no Scythian warrior. He didn't have the nose stress lines, right? And he attacked the innocent. Now there's less of me's and there are more of hims. There are less now there are less me's and more hims. I got the reptile DNA. Some of us, but not all of us, have it. But if black people were building airships, undoubtedly imagine what we could accomplish without the designated talking point in the way. The teacher, the social construct, doing things to be more like them and less like us. Get rid of peacemakers and store businesses who will thrive. At the top, they're all being controlled by Satan, trying to get the stars to fall and the special kids to give themselves up to the whole. No need to better yourself. You're an American. You're number one. You know the bandana's design is literally Iranian architecture that symbolizes peace, light, and creation from nothing. They use tiles. They tell us that Genghis Khan was this fat Chinese Mongolian, but he was this Spaniard-looking white guy, okay? And apparently blonde and redheads could be 5 to 7% smarter depending on what, race they are. I didn't account for the fact that the test might have been conducted on a group consisting of majority Irish redheads, brown-haired people. Black-haired people are usually 2% less. Black-haired people are usually, for some reason, 2% more dumber than brown-haired people. But once you have the black gene or any other gene that's not white, the baby will never have red or blonde hair ever again, usually just black. Black people are natural aggressors. The aggressor usually wins the fight. We're all turning black now. When the spotlight's on you and you're in a dark place, set an example before they make an example out of you. The winner, everybody likes. Humiliation ritual, assimilation. Okay, that's it. So I just reacted to my own content, and did you know that the movie that was made by Barack and Michelle Obama, Leave the World Behind, was not written and produced or directed by Michelle and Barack Obama? It actually, and I'm only saying this so that you're aware, it takes at least one white person to make a really good movie. It's just the way it is. I don't know why it works that way. You need at least one white guy working on the movie with you. But if you tell someone that they're stupid and tell someone that they're a stupid person, then they will become a stupid person, and statistically they will perform worse on their test scores.